Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the after party for Annalise's Revenge. What a happy, fun time we all had.
Is this Tenor talking or Emily talking?
I think it's Alto.
Tenor didn't talk.
Or Alto, sorry, Alto.
We're here tonight with Remley Farr, who wrote Annalise's Revenge and also wrote Happy Jack.
Hey.
Hey.
Welcome.
I'm famous again.
Exciting. Thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? What you do? What you've done?
So, I know Jeff, he reached out to me. I don't know if Madhouse of Tasha's Kiss was the first thing he commissioned from me, but there might have been one or two little one-shots beforehand. But I know Happy Jack's, Annalyse, and then the third one, Madhouse of Tasha's Kiss, were all part of a little trio that just kind of kept building and building and building. But he kind of reached out to me after I published some stuff on my own. I first put something up on the DMs Guild in about 2016, right after 5e dropped, because me and a couple buddies were doing Pathfinder, then 5e came out, and some other friends said, hey, try this new version of D&D. Went, played it, had fun with it, and I think just for kicks, I said, I'm going to write an adventure for it like the old Dungeon Magazine adventures were back from the day, because I had a couple of them. I commissioned an artist, and I formatted it and everything, and I wrote this adventure called The Sun Goes Down with a Ruby Smile. And I ran it for them, they liked it, and I was giving it out for free on subreddits and stuff like that. Then the DMs Guild, they announced this thing, and when it went live, I put mine on there. I might have the second adventure published timeline-wise on the entire DMs Guild, just because I had something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was already it was pre-made, like 8.5 by 11.
You had it ready to go.
It was ready to go. It was just a PDF, and I said, "Yoink!
Mm-hmm.
I can put money on this. I
Awesome.
can make money. Here's a so."
So have you always been interested in writing adventures for whatever system?
Well, it kicked off after. Let's see. I started playing in 3.5, and I enjoyed writing a bunch from there, but I went to school, got a degree in writing, and initially I was writing young adult books. And I was doing this stuff to try and plug my young adults. This is just supposed to be a billboard to get people to come and buy the other stuff. But then this started making actual money, and the other stuff wasn't selling at all. So I said, okay, well, if I'm using top dollar bait to catch cheap fish, I'll just eat the bait. So
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
So I started hopping back on that, and doing a lot less writing nowadays, mostly because my bill-paying, insurance-giving job, the one that keeps me really going, is starting to go. But at one point, a lot of these publishing things started to just get really big. You just got tons of things coming to DM's Guild. So I found it was a lot easier to actually just commission myself out instead of trying to be a publishing house or be a, main focal point. Instead, just say, hey, who wants to use me? It's like, essentially, if everyone wants to be a sushi chef, then you start selling rice. And Jeff reached out to me after, I know MT Black, he commissioned me for 2 pieces at one point. And Jeff, he was very, very generous with the payment, for one. Even to the point where when Tasha's Kiss started selling really, really well, he came back and just offered me more of a cut, and that's never happened before. So
Nice.
So I was definitely ready to go back and work with him some more. And what was funny with Tasha's Kiss is he basically said, I don't want to spend too much on that one because we haven't done it yet. He said, I commissioned this cover art and I haven't had anything to do with it yet. And so he showed me the creepy cover art, and I said, we can make this happen. And it's kind of like this cover art is always what he sort of started off with. I mean, even with Happy Jack's, I think a real selling point on that adventure is just that grisly cover image of
Yes.
Like toothy smile?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm even rocking my Pennywise shirt for
Yeah.
the occasion. Yeah, that toothy smile, it really catches you, the eyes as well. And it came out, I think, within 2 months of It Part 2 hitting movie theaters. So it's also a mix of, I see what you're doing, Jeff.
Yeah.
I see that marketing side of you.
Have you heard many people play your adventures?
I've heard lots of people do Tasha's Kiss, lots of people do Happy Jacks. You are the second group that I know of having broadcast Annalise's Revenge. That's one reason why when I reached out to Emily, I think I even mentioned to you, or it might have been John, I said, no one's given her any attention. I want to give her, maybe put her out there.
So which group saved the most people?
Did the other group save any people?
I don't think it was your group.
But if only that one last person made it out.
I know, right? Well, Irma was probably like 3 people stitched together enough. You just could have gotten her out. And,
Yeah.
It's what's neat, though. One thing that I noticed while watching these, and this also goes into the written portion, is you can't plan too much out. Essentially, what you want to do, there's a guy who reviews. He's actually one of the best reviews I ever got was a review that tore apart one of my adventures. It was from his name was Bryce Lynch from 10 Foot Pole. He reviewed an early adventure that I wrote that was just tons and tons of just a spiel of words. Like, it was more like a novel, and that's a big thing he criticized. Took his advice, wrote something else. I made it a lot easier for the DM to read, because I kind of say a lot of these adventures, I need to quit gesturing to things. This is an audio podcast. People, I am holding up a book.
Holding up the collection book. Yeah.
Because a lot of these are not just interesting bits of prose and interesting stories and subjects. They're also technical manuals. I now do things where instead of trying to give the DM a giant chunk of text, like, okay, in my own stuff, I'll condense it down, make it easier to look at. And sure enough, on a Gen Con morning, I'm sitting there I go to this one place to get my mimosas because I need them to get going that morning.
Yeah.
I pull up his blog, and there he is. He's reviewed a new thing I've written, and he's talking about how much he likes it. And he uses this analogy, which said something like, because there were so many things for the adventurers to play with, and that's kind of what, because this was more of a sandbox, this one adventure was. It was called Everyone Plows the Graveyard Farm. The things that I write on my own have really weird titles, so I can Google them easier. I can find them. It's not just the stabbing. I can just tap in that one title and...
Plows the Graveyard Farm. Piqued my interest.
Kind of had just a bunch of little things for people to go play with. And he used the phrase, gas tanks everywhere, with the party able to just light them off as needed. And
I like that.
So that's kind of how things progress a little bit more, I want to say, with writing these, is don't pre-plan, don't have too much of a preset idea. You don't know what random NPC a party member is going to freak out, punch in the face, broke their neck, oh well, there goes the plot line. Because you guys negotiated with Soprano. I think the other party fought him. And the other party, I'm trying to remember what all went down. One of their party members, I think, offered herself up to Alto in exchange to save everybody. And Alto just took her soul and took off with her.
Wow.
What?
We would never do that. I don't think we'd ever play someone who would do that.
It's not really our playstyle. So they didn't act out the scenes.
I think they may have acted out one. That's the thing. It was a live play on Twitch, which I know is a little different than a live stream like this, because I know, having done live shows on Twitch, I've done a ton of them. I feel I'm a little more, it's like I'm a little too wound up. When I'm a little more wound up, I tend to not just barge forth as much as I would on a recording, or if I'm just writing something up. I do think players can be a little more open, so to say, when it's not live. Like if you're just recording it, it's going to go up later on, but you don't have to worry about entertaining someone right there, right now.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And so I think with them, I mean, Alto said, give me your soul and I'll let him go. And the person said, yeah, and that character disappeared. And the player said, wait, I'm gone? Just like, oh, yeah, you gave him your soul. He's snatched you up and took off with you. But that was also when I started getting more into reading some more OSR and old school D&D stuff, where, yeah, you could get killed. It happened.
Oh, yeah.
So Annalyse is also where I think Jeff let me off my leash a little more often. That's when we started putting content warnings, like goats.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Annalyse was definitely a lot more mature rating.
Mm-hmm.
than Happy Jack. But I do appreciate the way both of them are written. It was very easy to read it and figure out what's going on, and still, and I know you like give permission, saying you're the DM, you make of it what you will, but it's nice to read that, and especially for me, who I've only DM'd a few times, so I'm still a newbie. So to read that and realize I don't have to exactly stick to what's written in the book, it's really helpful. And the way you have everything laid out was really helpful.
I think Jeff's a big one when it comes to the layout, and especially with making sure DMs know that they can. Because I've learned a thing in the past too, dealing with playwriting, is if you want someone to, it's kind of like if I tell anyone who wants to write this kind of stuff, is your DMs, they're going to take something and make it work for their party, make it fit into their campaign world. It's not going to be a direct translation of what you wrote. For one, that's kind of hard to do. It's, as a writer for this kind of material, you have an idea in your head, and you got to first make sure that it goes, nothing gets lost in the way going from your head to the page. Then it has to go from the page to a dungeon master, who then has to take it and act it out, retranslate it, set it for your audience. So part of the craft is knowing, okay, well, how much, you can't be too stuck on this material. You can't hope that they don't miss anything at all. The dungeon masters are going to lose things. They're going to swap this character out for somebody else. They're going to, I don't even think this was in Happy Jacks, but one group, it blew me away what they did. I think they made it where they're all like the little kids, and he's, pulling little aspects of people out of each other. And at the end, Happy Jack's little kid version comes walking up, but is like mature, and like that's the grown up version. And I did not write that in there at all. And I said, that is cool. Like, I think Jack's drunk, grown up Jack is sitting there crying. They didn't kill him, I don't think, but he's crying, and young Jack comes up and he's got like his hand on his shoulder and saying, wow. It was this really intimate moment. I'm sitting here going, I didn't put that in, but that's awesome. Jeff, I need you to put something in right now. Put that thing out. Stop the print. So, but it's just, let people play with it. Otherwise, write a book.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, do you visualize it as a story when you write it, and then sort of break it out into hunks?
Kind of.
To give it, agency for people to, this is the important thing I want to get across in this room or this area that can lead it on? Or do you just, visualize it as a full story?
See, kind of. But when I did Happy Jacks, the thing with Happy Jacks, if anyone ever looks at the DM side of it, is it can go any kind of ways, because I made it go on the idea of the dungeon master has so many things going on in there that might not be pre-planned. It's almost like, all right, guys, this is just how the dungeon ended up, almost like a random generator to a degree. Mostly in that the people you come across in it, they're not pre-established where they are. You roll randomly to see which of these 7 bad guys and which ones are in the rooms. It'll say 1 of the 7 is in this room. There might be 2 in this room. 2 of them might just pair up well together. 2 of them, they're like that perfect combo in Marvel vs. Capcom, that if they just team up and fight the party, they'll wipe you.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know that Em ever told us that was the way it worked.
I did not.
That's
cool. Yeah.
Even the loot, a lot of the loot that would be found, so much of it is, Jeff has told me, he says, Remley, why do you love tables so much? Like rolling around. And I say, because the dungeon master needs some fun too. The dungeon master needs to look at players and go, look, you can't get mad at me if this kills you. It's just, I'm rolling on a chart. We'll see what goes down.
It's random, yeah.
Right.
Let the dungeon master roll a few things. So, because I think in Happy Jacks, they're the adult aspects of the kids. I think 3 of them you come across, they're already dead, depending on where you find them. And so we don't know which ones of those 7 they'll be. You don't know if in the Hall of Mirrors as well you bump into this one kid, or if it's not until the slip and slide room where you found the other one. And I did it to kind of I wanted Happy Jacks to be, I didn't want any players to feel like they were being led somewhere. Because a lot of times if I play online, or a lot of adventures that I will see are very linear. I'm thinking, no, let's break up that linear things. Happy Jacks, if you look at the map forward in the opening, there are 7 different directions you can go once you get into a fun house from the first room.
Oh yeah, and we all wanted to go different ways.
Yep. And I was laughing at that when you were trying to figure that out.
I really wanted. Same with this one actually. Annalise, I'm like, let's go in the staff entrance. Like I just always wanted to go in the employee entrances. I guess.
That's because you don't even have to, put there's treasure down here. You just have to put up a sign that says you're not supposed to be in here, and that will make people want to go
off limits.
poke their head in there. And whereas Annalise is a little more like, you're here for a job. Go in there and rescue these people. But I know a lot of adventuring parties are very silly. So what happens if they go in trying to be silly and start messing with things?
Touching doors.
Start touching doors.
Yeah. Turning into whatever you polymorphed into.
Webbing the whole place up.
Everyone is a boo, and everything is that giant red gem that is not the lamp. So it's like you're here to get the lamp. Cave Wonders might turn on you. What's neat, though, is even Jeff was the one who said he had the idea for Annalyse. Right before Happy Jacks went out, I think he said, I want to throw this thing in there to have us a little something to go with later on. And that's where Annalise's Revenge kicked off. I think it was my idea to go with something more like a mime, is what I was thinking of with her. Kind of each of the three characters, Tasha's Kiss being more of a harlequin, Happy Jack being a traditional carnival clown, and Annalise being more of a mime. And that's where the stitching of the mouth kind of came in.
Oh, okay.
And I thought it also came with was a neat image when he drew it on the picture as well.
Yeah, it was really neat, that cover art.
Is it written in that, like, the party is up on those posters? And that Jacques has a room, so whose room would that be, and how did that happen?
Let me see real quick as I open my book.
Yeah. I'm like, is it a Jack room and she turned it into a Jacques room? Like, I don't know.
Because that's a neat thing too that happened with your parties. Jack and Jacques have that similarity in names, so you could just run with that. Which, by the way, the part that I laughed at the hardest is when Little Jacques said that accent's fake. I lost it.
Yeah, and that cut me the deepest.
Your accent's fake. I was like, oh, this is hilarious. Trying to figure out which room Jacques dressed.
Be like Skip Kernicus and all this crap.
So the posters, it says large colorful posters hang from the windows, and it says a tragedy in 2 acts by Annalise Penn. And then below the main poster are individual posters with headshots of each of the stars of the show, the player characters. So I embellished it a little bit, but basically the idea was there. Yeah.
But why didn't Pam have a room?
Because there was only one star of the show. And
this seems like unfair treatment.
I rolled a die and it came up Jock.
Look, we all know that I am
She rolled
Emily's
a die.
favorite. So obviously Jacques is going to get the star treatment, okay?
Was that a way that you embellished it, Emily? Let me see, because I'm seeing the stars dressing room in...
Well, for sure there's no fake dog you can ride with a saddle and stuff.
I mean,
There's-
you don't know how much planning went into this.
There's no human skin cowboy hat?
No.
There's no human skin cowboy hat.
That was a whole other... But for sure, as far as we called it mature, like, we ended that session and I was like, it was really creepy and gory.
Yeah.
Like, the goriest thing I've ever played, but, like, in an enjoyable way. Like, I didn't have nightmares this time.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah. I think that person who gave you the advice was, I mean, I'm not the most experienced. I've got very, very little DMing experience and not that much experience as a player. But I think that sounds like good advice. And I think it translated well to these, from my perspective anyway, as a player who's played these, being told, give sort of lots of options for the DM. And that way, when your players do the exact opposite of everything that you've planned for, you've got lots of other choices to roll with. So I like that.
That's another reason why I learned to not plan too much out ahead, because you don't know what these players are going to do. You don't know what random NPC they're going to adopt as their favorite and never let it go for any reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
So the star's dressing room was you, Remley. It says the door to this room has a name of the star of the show emblazoned on it, which is a randomly determined player character.
Right, randomly determined, yes.
Yeah,
So I did message Leland, and I'm like, what would Jacques have in his room? What kind of items would be in there?
Whips everywhere.
Yes.
Yes.
And then I took that a step farther for the green room, and I messaged all of them, and I said, what are your characters' favorite foods, to make sure that those foods were in there in the green room.
That was fun. That was fun. Minus pulling out toes to eat it later. That was less fun.
Again, really cool
You didn't
flavor.
enjoy that? No?
I mean, if they were roasted and candied, maybe I could
Booch will try anything once.
Is Booch a snapping turtle? I mean,
Yeah, I was about to say,
turtles-
snapping. Yeah, they live around where I'm at. They'll get a toe.
That's fair, actually.
It's
If
a
you stick your
delicacy.
toe too close to a snapping turtle, don't expect.
Look, are we
going to
get into the argument again about whether a turtle is supposed to be a tortoise or a turtle?
Right.
Because we've gone down this
No,
road
that-
before. I don't think we
I don't
came
know
to
that
a
there's
conclusion.
a difference. They're the same thing.
No.
Leland, you ended up playing Booch quite a bit. 'Cause-
I
In combat.
assisted a fellow player at the table with some forgotten abilities, yes, so we wouldn't hopefully die.
I've never claimed to understand how D&D combat works. Okay, this should be nothing new for
every
any of
few
you.
turns, it'd be like, Bill, did you realize this person's a humanoid and they're,
Are you using the correct dice? Are you using the correct number of dice? Are you remembering to do this ability that you have?
Yeah, Bill's known for not throwing the right amount of dice and it mattering.
One of my buddies, the first character he really played was a Druid of the Spores as well. And granted, with that being the only character he ever played, he picked up real well on it, because it was like, I know how to do one thing, and that's if they get too close to me when I'm doing my spory stuff, they're going to get hurt. And, and I guess on Roll20, where we could put the little swingy circle around them that showed, you step near him, you're going to get stuck.
Oh, you know what? I should have done
We
that.
should
'cause
do
would've
that
reminded
with
me.
Booches.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Put the aura
I
on
will
there.
say, I do have a bit of a distaste for electronic things in my D&D games. I like to roll my physical dice. I like to...
And
Erase
screw
your
it
hit
up.
points so much it goes
Yeah.
through the paper.
Yeah, exactly.
That was one of my favorite lines from this. Is I said, "What's happening?" and Bill said, "Leland is successfully playing two characters right now."
Yeah, I know. That's good.
That was funny.
He meant it.
I mean, it doesn't. I don't take any offense to someone reminding me of something. It's totally fine.
All the most egregious reminders are usually edited out anyways. So.
Yeah,
I'd leave
yeah,
just,
yeah.
I'd leave
Listener
just
only
enough
heard-
in to make me look great.
If
You
there's a
don't hear
laugh,
all
it
the
stays in.
cursing
Yeah.
and swearing and nasty things he says to me.
Okay, so like opening the door to the theater, John or Nunda got polymorphed. Is that like a random table of effects?
See, that was all Jeff's idea. I originally had it unlocked. I was one of those folks
Okay.
who said,
Oh.
"You just let them go wherever. If they go through it in one step, they get through it in one step." I think it's because also earlier I was it's really hard to write things, and especially to broadcast, and especially on like a Twitch channel that has like a 3-hour slot to fill. So I had to kind of get out of that mindset, which is what I used to participate a lot in, and go, hey, sometimes you just go through it and you go through it. I think the list itself, let's see, that was one of Jeff's. I got it right here in front of me. The door, I can't find it. Oh yeah, based on the character level is what you turn into. If your character's level 4 through 5, you get turned into an ape or a black bear. If your character level is 6 through 8, you can become an ettercap, a gargoyle, or a mummy. Nunda's probably, which if Nunda got turned into a mummy, he would have probably gotten younger.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, Nunda's almost a mummy already.
Nunda's playing first
I'm
edition.
only 400.
We know he doesn't want to be a daddy.
Yeah.
If the turtle is calling you old, then you're pretty old. 'Cause they can live to be ancient.
It is scary to like, I try to open the door and it opens and there's no, yeah, that's a scary thing in itself. So to leave something unlocked, you're like,
Well, I'll even do things like, here's a room with nothing really interesting going on in it. Just to, people will assume something bad is behind
yeah.
here. And it's like,
spend their resources
Yeah.
looking for magic.
I roll for investigation. You don't find anything. I do it again. There's got to be something in the room. I've had players do that.
I look closer.
Yeah, old D&D did that a lot. They left a lot of empty rooms, mainly for the DM to fill them with whatever they wanted to. But yeah, you got used to just going in, going, I guess this one's empty. Move on. Where's the treasure?
There can't be a trap in here. Well, that's because old school D&D also used a lot more of the wandering monsters. You had a chart
Oh,
with
yeah.
after every 15 minutes or so. So I guess all those empty rooms were also there to kind of, you don't know where the monster's going to pop up at. Like you said, they'll show up wherever they need to be, and then you back up, barricade it. This room's going to be the place where we drop our tents. Because that's the thing too. Encumbrance was a big thing back then as well, and I like to put more of that into 5e as well when possible. It's just so much bean counting.
Yeah, I like the idea of it, but the maintenance of it is painful because you go and you play and somebody pulls out their sword and then their halberd and then their, and you go, where are you keeping all this crap, right?
My
And
purse, obviously.
Yeah, Mary Poppins.
Pam's purse.
That's why a bag of holding is so important, right, Bill?
Sure is.
Two or three of them, actually.
Yeah, ideally 2, if not 3.
There is a
bags
purse of holding, Ral, right? Pam has
Yes.
a purse of holding.
Pam's purse has
Yes.
been upgraded because it was just a perfect fit. That is now a haversack of holding, is what it is.
That's awesome. I love it.
That's great.
Want some peanut brittle?
No, not at the theater.
That was
In the theater.
that was like a very weird homage to my mother, and like she always says peanut. I don't know, she says it weird, and she likes peanut brittle and peanuts for snacks.
If you're not really listening all that well, you
Yeah.
could assume she's saying something
We
very
make fun of
well,
her,
not
but-
very different, but
But
yes.
Pam is my mom. My mom is Pam. So
Her she has a little bit of her accent's not near as thick as Pam's though.
So back to the adventure. I did like the way that the abyssal plane and the material plane were all tied together, and things that they did on the material plane affected the other side.
That was, I think, one of the big, I guess, motifs I was thinking of when I was starting off with this was a mirrored world where if you want to tweak something in this side, you got to go back and tweak it in the other side. And especially the idea of if you pull the wrong things on one side, you're going to cause terrible things to happen on the other side. Early ideas of how it was going to work out were even points of where you couldn't even open doors in the abyssal plane unless you went and did it in the material plane. Granted, I think that would have caused a lot more bean counting for the dungeon master. Like, you'd have to have little almost checkable boxes for all the key things next to every single room so you could know, okay,
Yeah.
did they flip this table over? Did they open this chest? Did they do this?
Did have a check sheet.
yeah, okay.
And then one idea I got from that too was with the people. An early adventure that I wrote with another complicated title called Seized Fire for the Ceasefire. One of the running things was in a snowy town, a wizard with an ice staff, a spell went wrong, froze all the people, but they were frozen in unbreakable ice. Think of Ocarina of Time when the Zoras all get frozen in their little red crystals, if anyone's ever played that video game. But later on, these whale people moved in, humanoid whales, didn't know what these frozen people were, and we're just using them as like furniture and stuff. Like just, it's just they were running an igloo.
Decor.
Yeah, and like so the party goes in, meets these cool like little killer whale looking, bipeds, and they go into the house and there's a man under this table that you're using to hold it up. And they don't know what's going on. Like you can smack it with a hammer, or the person won't break or anything. So that's kind of what I think led into the frozen people aspect of this one. But they are a little more brittle.
Yeah.
Is there lore behind why it was the abyssal plane? And I don't know, how did you come up with the 3 big baddies?
So we came up with Tasha first. I don't want to go too into that in case it's something you want to jump into, which you don't have to do that one first, then play these 2. I think when we looked at what we created, I think we basically said the only real order that they have to be done is just do Jax before Tasha's for it to make the most sense. Since there is but when I was writing Tasha's, I said I want this to loop back around. No, when I was writing Annalise's, sorry, do Jax first, then Annalise's. But then, as I was writing Annalise's, I said I can wrap this around to make it where, if they haven't done Tasha's yet, they can go do that after this by dropping all this information with Tasha's. Degmir, that's a character from Tasha's, to where it can go around and be used as the last one. So that way it's a little more of a circle of ways to just pick one way to start.
But like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I want a little bit, if there is lore, I want a little lore on the baddies, or like, how did Annalise get there? What happened?
Well, it's said in the play, I mean, I haven't read.
I mean,
Oh,
but
I
again,
know.
like the play is like poetic explanation, and under pressure, I'm reading it while we play. You know, like it didn't all.
Yeah, I didn't absorb too much of it while I was reading it, to be honest, because I was just focusing on not
She was inhabited by
stumbling.
demon.
The quartet possessed her after her soul was taken by Degmere.
There's 4 of them.
Dagmere works for Tasha's Kiss. Tasha's Kiss is friends with Reaver. Reaver was the one that's trying to take over Jack.
But the quartet is soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. That's what they were referred to in the adventure, called the quartet.
There was 4 of them. Who was I forgetting?
See, soprano, alto, tenor, bass was the
I think
goat
I
eye at
forgot
the
soprano.
end. And soprano was
okay.
the...
Big fat guy in the theater.
So, did you expect people to fight all 4 of them?
Not really, because...
Because that's a lot.
I knew from having to DM a lot of Twitch D&D that if I really need to fill out my 3 hours, like if we're only an hour and a half into the time slot, if you want to fill it out, you just start combat. Because I think the one downside with 5th edition is that combat takes a while, especially at high levels when everyone wants to try and get the most out of their turn. And it's not just, I swing my axe. It's, all right, well, what spell? Okay, you got a counterspell. Sit there and you counterspell. I'll prep this. I'll give you this buff.
It edits down, but in live play, for sure, it takes longer.
Yeah. Oh, it's got to be. Because even when I DM and my players want to go to combat, I'm thinking, no, can y'all just talk this out?
The Incorrigible party would.
Do some negotiating.
Really?
I don't know. We're really good at talking.
Probably just a misunderstanding.
Yeah, they're just misunderstood.
Try waving to him.
Yeah.
Tenor is basically tenor in the group is meant to be just the big hulking thing you fight. And as you fight tenor and the more damage you deal to her, she can split in half, and there's she splits in half, and those 2 halves they're on individual things, little torso worms crawling around. Mm-hmm. They keep chopping them more and more in half. I've grown to really like more traps, I guess, lately. That's been my thing, especially Happy Jacks. Happy Jacks is full of traps. I had some crazy... It was so hard trying to, when it comes to get the thing in your head, put it on paper, hope the DM gets it. The trap with, the rolly tunnels that you walk through, like in a funhouse.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where one of them...
It's like a Ninja Warrior course.
One of them was meant to... You go into it and it can tumble down a chute. And so I guess the idea was if you think of yourself being... You step into one of these little twirly parts of the tunnel, then it goes down an incline. You can't get out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it goes down the path, and it is supposed to then hit that button where the M Viper is.
Yeah, and let her free.
Yeah, and then you're looking right at her. Like it pins you in there with her. Which M Viper is just an anagram of vampire. I went with like a more reptilian vampire than a bat vampire. So, and the reason why she's a little more weird is actually me and Jeff, when talking about Happy Jacks, we were interviewed by Dragon Plus magazine. I when it came to developing monsters, I said, well, think of the vampire. Think of all the rules that it has that don't really make a lot of sense. Sunlight kills it. It can't go over running water. It has to be invited into a house. They're very folklore.
Garlic.
Yeah, garlic. And and when you
Yeah.
stop and think about it, it doesn't make a lot of sense logically, but it's so part of Western culture that it's just a monster that's become natural to us. So it's okay, well, what's some monster that has just some strange rules and they're just there to be there? Also, the party won't know what the heck it's doing because it's not from a monster manual. That's the best way to stop metagaming too. It's just create unique things.
Yeah.
Create new stuff,
I agree.
right? Yeah. You can't say, I've seen this before, I know its weaknesses, and...
You can't sit there, as I've seen a player do on Twitch stream. I saw a guy argue with me. He said, wait, because he didn't kill the Sawagan. I think that's what we're fighting. He takes out the monster manual, starts flipping through it to debate with me how many hit points it had. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh,
That's not cool, though.
you pile of swear words that I can't say. You lose XP.
Yeah.
So in things too, monsters can be simple and they can be a little more bizarre, but I think just step out of the rules of the game. Do something people won't see coming. Now, Annalyse, when she's possessed, she has a special rule where if she hits you enough times, she then gets a free attack with one of her special abilities. especially if you can do things or have people make rolls or saves that they didn't even see coming.
Could she be saved? Could Annalyse be saved?
Yes. So what one group picked up on.
So we failed.
It's okay.
On
It's
that.
okay. It's okay. Well, one group. Well, that's the thing is I write this going. Someone might just let her go. So far, both groups found her in the crowd. Both groups realized, we found her headshot picture in
Lucas.
Lucas Ravioli's room. So- me trying to come up with fantasy Italian sounding names. Lavoli and Pavoli.
Pavoli just sounded
Bring me
Hollywood,
the
yeah.
formuoli. So both did that. What one group managed to do is realize that the myconid spores, you could use that to talk to the frozen people. And that's why they were kind of put in there saying, I wonder if people can maybe think because they can make you communicate telepathically. And I think they threw that into one of them.
Yeah, we never used those.
Booch has got him added to his sourdough starter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Making more of them.
So about how long does it take you to write a campaign like Annalyse?
As I've noticed with the stuff I was doing for Jeff, they progressed more and more, I guess because as my bill paying job got a little more intense, they progressed more and more into the category of I'll start it next week. I'll start it in 2 weeks. I'll start in 3 weeks. And then like the true, finals week of college it is, I've had to do that before, write something. I mean, a lot of people will if you go to school and do term papers.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I need to get this done. He's asking me how far along I've gone with it. And he messed up. Jeff messed up one time on a podcast. Because one time he was being interviewed. And Jeff, if you're listening to this, know this is where you went wrong. Someone asked you, Jeff, talking to you, Jeff, about deadlines. And you said, you've just grown to just accept the fact that writers will be late on their deadlines. So he said it. So eventually at one point, I think I just kind of sat down. I even remember I was in the garage of the house that I just moved out of, because that's when we turned our garage into we weren't using it for cars. We were using it for Nintendo 64s. No old furniture.
Sounds right. All right.
Yeah. We can only use it for like 5 months out of the year like that. Otherwise it became too hot because it was Southeast Georgia. I just remember sitting there with like my laptop, a bunch of graphing paper, and I would just sketch some stuff, write some stuff, sketch some stuff, write some stuff. Because it's one of those things where what comes first, the map or the room's descriptions? Maybe I come up with an idea for a room. Come up with an idea for here's a privy and there's a portal in the toilet because it's funny. Like it's just like that kind of stuff just pops into my head.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like because I didn't want just one portal. Then it's too linear. There's be another way to get in here. I know where I can put it.
Yeah.
That's where I did the bulk of my writing. And it's the weirdest thing when it comes to writing these. I'll say it takes just as much time to write that first 15% as it does to write that last 85%. Because it's like you're starting to chisel away, figure out where you want to go. And then once it all starts it's like putting together the border pieces of a puzzle.
Yeah.
Once you get that frame in, then it all starts to fall into place. And so I kind of knew what I was wanting to play with. I dropped some ideas. Initially, I think I was playing more on the chromatic color spectrum. It has something to do with reds, blues, greens. And if you find the red thing, key or something, leads to a red thing over here. But I dropped that after I wanted to play more with the opera house. I knew I wanted to do an opera house or a theater or an auditorium because I was doing a lot of community theater at the time as well. And I was like, would be a good dungeon because you can get lost backstage. And how do I get more dungeon? Do a mirror room of it. And that also then makes you do like everyone was doing. Oh, well, we know what this room could be because we mirrored that and the other one. Let's do, almost like that first little step through in the material plane is like the recon work. Not a whole lot's going on in the material plane. Really, Soprano is the only big thing in there. But depending on how
Big
much
thing.
time very big.
Yeah. Big thing.
It's like you do enough of that, the more you spend in there, then the more you'll know of the abyssal side once you step through. And I didn't want to mislead too much, because I want to kind of reward for how much you poke around. I don't want to reward too much for that, because then you get those parties who, it's like playing Diablo 2, and you have to scout out every single last corner of the dungeon, get every single last...
Completionist.
Completionist.
Yes.
But But yeah, when writing it, it's like once you get past that first little bit, it all starts to come together. Especially that I know that Jeff is taking care of art, Jeff is taking care of the formatting, because I had to do all that myself back in my original stuff. I say, okay, because really also doing the formatting and doing the art also kind of helps me get into the scheme of things. Sometimes making that page look the way it needs to look just works. For some reason, that is a check, move on. Even though I know I'm going to have to come back and change it later. And Jeff will send me like updated art as it comes along too, and that helps as well. Finally seeing what alto looks like, finally seeing what soprano looks like. That kind of gets you motivated, seeing all the pieces roll into place.
What inspired the peristalsis situation of Between Realms?
That might have been an offshoot of, if you really want to...
You were having bad gastric reflux that week.
It's terrible. I was choking. I said, if only my throat was a portal to a opera house.
Ate some bad toes. I mean, peanuts.
That might have been peanut season down here in Georgia when I was writing that. Now think about it. Anyways, that's the thing. If you ever get peanuts in Georgia, buy them from like the random old dude off the side of a road somewhere. Don't go to a store.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well,
good to know.
Well, we eat boiled peanuts down here, which is a little odd, I know, to other folks, but give them a try.
Boiled. All right.
They're more like a bean. They're really more like a legume. That's the fancy word for it. But with the I think I wanted like a way to know people to know, okay, this goes down. Because that's the thing too, is if gravity's over here pushing down and gravity's down here pushing this way, I said, okay, well, I can't have people can kind of get stuck in the middle, maybe. But then
physics, yeah.
But then you can just pull yourself out the other side. Also, I was writing if you want to see me unchained without Jeff there to say, don't put that in there. I wrote an adventure, I did it all myself, called Petey's Pork Pie Emporium. Which so if you want to go adventuring in a barbecue restaurant,
sounds like it would make me hungry.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm interested.
Well, it does come with a 30s.
Comes with a brisket.
Oh, well, brisket is on the menu. But because I wanted to have some fun with the wait staff, like who are the waiters, who's working, who's on staff that night, I had a list of like 36 names of people with who they were. And you just roll that, and I realized this can be a tool for anything. You need some tavern staff? Boom, roll these. I think one of them was a broom mimic that eats table scraps, and that patrons keep trying to steal it to use in the house.
Now, is Petey's Pork Pie Emporium on DM's Guild?
Yes, it is. It is on there. But part of that involved a lot of body horror.
Okay.
And so there is a part where it feels like we're going down an intestinal track, I think. And I think it's like, I like playing with this for some reason. This is
and that was what it, yeah. Oh, I felt definitely reminiscent of the Magic School Bus where you're like tiny in the intestines and she's talking about peristalsis and stuff.
Who was Mrs. What was her name?
Mrs. Frizzle. Yeah.
Mrs. Frizzle,
yeah.
yes.
Gonna get busy, make a lot of mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
I knew I should have stayed home today. At my old one shot, we never would go down this esophagus to a new world.
That Smarty Pants, whatever her name is. Oh, man.
Phoebe? Why do I know these names? I haven't seen this show.
I don't know, but I had a Magic School Bus birthday cake, so I was there with you into it. Oh, man. I just, like, want to know what we were supposed to do different, I guess, to, like, save the people.
There was nothing you
I don't
were
know.
supposed to. It's one of those things, too. Yeah, it's one of those things, too, where sometimes someone's going to get hurt.
It felt like our biggest fail as a one-shot, for sure.
Lane, are you always worried about what the right thing to do is? There is never a right thing in D&D.
Maybe, like, the best?
It's fun, whatever's fun.
But, like, Pam, like, if you ask her before an adventure what her goals would be, it would be to get everyone out alive. Not, like, save 10 sounds good.
I mean, but in this case, you were not getting everyone out alive. There was a skin cowboy hat.
That's what I'm saying.
The skin came from somewhere.
I mean, yeah. Okay.
From a cowboy.
And Irma.
Yeah, I mean, Irma.
That's right. That's why they call it a cowboy hat.
How appropriate.
Not a cow hat.
I just hate that Nanda's gonna join us with that hat in another adventure.
Oh yeah, that's hanging in there.
It reminds me of that adventure we went on where we saved maybe 10 of the 250 people.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I got this amazing hat, so not all was lost.
I think the way I justified it was like, we were supposed to find them. Well, we found them.
You sure did.
Yeah, that was one of the
You
objectives.
did find them.
Right.
Objective complete.
I got a question for Irma. When you decided what Irma was when he went to find some skin, did you roll on the chart of the 8 different skins that you could pick between?
I did not. I know one of them was a little old lady, and he chose that, so I didn't want to come up with another voice for another NPC, so I made her mute. It's like she can't talk. I mean, she doesn't have any working lungs, so she can't talk, right?
Makes sense.
I mean, I'm going to take this opportunity to tell you that I really enjoyed this one shot, Emily, and like, I feel like your DMing is like, I don't know. It just gets better every time. You like seem more confident. Did you feel more confident?
A little bit. I mean, I still, listening back, there are things that I wish I had done differently, and I wish we had taken a break in the middle, because we played for like a couple times, and then we played for a 4-hour chunk to finish it up. And I could tell halfway through that I should have taken a break. My brain needed a reset.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm getting better at rolling with you guys and giving you what you need, but I still have work to do. But I feel like I'm getting better at it.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I felt like this one was really good, and it seemed like you felt a lot more comfortable in your DM shoes in this one than.
And it helped that it was well written, and a lot of the stuff that I needed was there for me. I didn't have to figure out a whole lot by myself, so that was nice.
I've downloaded stuff, not to say anything, DM's Guild, and some of them are not all that great. I mean, they just don't read. You have to read it 2 or 3 times to really try to understand what are they trying to get across here. Why are they doing it? There's a lot of great stuff out there, but there's you can really tell when somebody's put the thought into laying something out well.
Well, Jeff showed up and said, "There's money if this works," and I said, "I like money."
Yeah.
So let's put some effort into this. And also, that's one good thing with Jeff is he knows how to like assemble a team. He's like a good Nick Fury. He knows like who to get for certain things. I love this. I think he does the layouts, so he does a lot of the editing, and that I think keeps costs low. But back when I had a Twitter account, he would at one point he was very candid with one of his adventures about, hey, here's the money that goes into this, and then here's the income that I get out of it, and then here's sometimes you don't know what's going to be a success or not, because I mean I've put stuff on the DM skill that has sold maybe 20 copies.
Mm-hmm.
Tasha's Kiss has sold over 5,000.
Wow.
And that's what kind of I think blew both of us away. He was like, "Do you know how much this thing is selling that I paid you to do?" I said, "Why is that? Is there something else you want written?"
Now, can anybody put anything out on DM's Guild, or do you have to go through like any kind of vetting process of some kind?
No, you can put basically anything up there to a degree. I know you get less of a cut through the DM's Guild, but by using the DM's Guild, you can use Wizard IP material. So like Mind Flayers, Kuotoa, Forgotten Realms. Otherwise, you have to stick to what is just in the open gaming license and the whatever they allow you to do. They haven't tried to copyright yet. Really, the first adventure that I put out, Sun Goes Down with a Ruby Smile, that could have not been put on there. But I didn't know really the copyright laws at the time of what was going on with 5th edition, because 5th edition had yet to release an open gaming license yet. And so when DM's Guild dropped, I said, okay, well, this is the safe one to put it in. I'll just drop it over there. The downside, though, is the real vetting process is for physical printing. It's not like Drive Through RPG where you can just make something print on demand as long as it's formatted right. DM's Guild is very meticulous. So Jeff, he I think the success of Madhouse of Tasha's Kiss, then Happy Jack's Funhouse, allowed him to push to see if he could sell it through print. And I kind of messaged him back saying, dude, can you get Annalyse's Revenge in there as well and do it like a trilogy that people can buy as print? And that's because I was like, this is my little forgotten child over here that no one ever... like, of the 3, it's...
Yeah.
And this is the 3rd one published, so the other 2 also just have an extra year each on it to make sales. And it's hard to market it not as a sequel. because you do get the most out of it having played Happy Jacks first. And so some people will not go for it, instead going for Happy Jacks. And I do think, I love both cover art pieces. Jack's grizzly grin there with the bright blue eyes just catches everyone.
Yeah.
I think Emily's first question to us was like, anyone got like clown phobias? Because if not, like, we're doing this.
Now, where can they pick that up, the book that you have? Can you pick that book up?
This book that the listeners cannot see right now, that I'm holding up in front of my webcam, it is available on the DM's Guild. If you look for, we've titled this the Freak Show Collection. And it has both The Madhouse of Tasha's Kiss, Happy Jack's Funhouse, and Annalise's Revenge. It is in hardback and softback. So depending on, of course, the hardback will cost more, but I think I've got a few copies of the softback that I've been using just to try to make people buy my stuff as needed. But that's the one downside that I have with DM's Guild. You have to go through that kind of process to get something printed. Whereas Drive-Thru, I even got to the point where I was making little zines. I don't know if anyone's ever like looked in the zine market of the old school D&D things. They are so neat. They're like little saddle-bound booklets where people will just print them all out at their own place, but they'll make them very neat. And I can't even do zines of stuff on DM's Guild because it technically counts as you selling a printed product of that. Because Petey's Pork Pie Emporium was built to be a, 8.5 by 5.5? To be where each page is 8.5 by 5.
Paperback.
Yeah, like you fold the paper in half and it's meant to be stapled together. Here's a little booklet of the stuff. The idea being I print out 50 of these, go to a Gen Con and just give them to people.
Yeah.
But technically I couldn't, I think technically legally, I'm sure there's a way around it. Once it's on the DM's Guild, it's in a, basically you now own it along with Wizards. So they're a little more particular about what you can do with it. Drive-Thru RPG or Itch.io are much more fair game.
So you couldn't sell that out on your own then and print it out?
Well, I could probably, if I could order some at-cost copies from DM's Guild, most likely order, there's an official term for it, where you buy it as, you're not buying it as a customer.
Like a retail version?
Yeah.
Like a retail value.
And so I can get those, and probably I could get those in a bit of a discount if bought in bulk. I think Jeff might have done that. He said, hey, I'll send you just a few to give out to people.
That's how you start a pyramid scheme. We each buy 10 books. Then they have to sell 10 books.
Shh, don't say that so loud. Don't say that so loud.
Someone else.
We're trying. I'll cancel that shipment going to you, Pam.
Well, you found us by realizing we did Happy Jacks, right?
Yeah, I just went to Spotify and just typed Happy Jack's Funhouse to see who had been running it. And I was like, okay, cool. I commute a lot right now. Well, back in 6 months ago or however.
Hey, we got a backlog of episodes for you.
I've noticed that too. And I've also said, damn.
Well, we were doing twice a week at first, so it was a lot.
What's a good starting point if I needed to find a, like, not the starting point, but if I wanted to back up? Because that's the one thing with live streams and Critical Role and stuff, as I'm looking at it going, oh, this is like a soap opera. There's like 60 episodes in one season. Like,
yeah.
We do have a recap episode. If you want, we have a chapter 1 recap and a chapter 2 recap. You could.
I'd say start in chapter 2 or 3, but as things sort of wind down in our campaign, it is like
all the connections are happening now.
Yeah.
And it's
connections are being made.
Our minds are blown regularly. Like, how did we not see that?
Where you pull back that NPC from 2 seasons ago, and it turns out that person's been plotting.
You might want to, you might want to tell Jeff about this guy Leland Steele, who's pretty good at making things up.
I thought you were about to say Lilo and Stitch.
No, Leland Steele.
I often get
That's
confused.
what I'm going to call him from now on.
Yeah, Leland Steele. But thank you so much for sharing Annalise's Revenge with us. Obviously, it's your baby, now that I know more about it, so that's awesome. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, like I saw, you guys seem to pick up real well on Happy Jack, so I figured, here's this. I want to see this French bastard run through this adventure now.
Yes. Now, just imagine that character of Jacques talking to himself as the DM playing 3 different interacting NPCs. I mean, there's our campaign.
Everyone is French.
And everyone's French.
Occasionally a sailor pirate voice.
You got anything in the works right now?
Not at the moment, however, because originally I stopped for like a year and a half or 2 years because the job just got more intense. Well, about a year ago, basically when I took a position that was basically a 60-mile drive from where I was living, with the idea to eventually move over here. And that was how much it cost to live on the coast. And I was like, why did I do this? But through, enough raises after a
And
while.
You get hurricanes now, so
Oh, well, we got those originally. We just got like 50 miles worth of buffering to not get hit by them. Now that I've moved over here, I'm not spending 10 plus hours a week commuting. Even though I had 3-day weekends, on Tuesdays and Thursdays I worked 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., which means I'm leaving the house at 6:15 and I'm not getting back
That's
till
rough. Oh man.
That's really bad.
So eventually I said, I'm not writing anything. I'm going to bed. And actually, no, I take that back. That is when me and my buddies, we started I guess like a lot of people, we started a COVID campaign. We all just tuned in virtually and started playing some adventures. And I started to just do a write-up of the adventure. Like, okay, what happened? And I wrote it up, and then I started drawing pictures for it. And that turned into its own project where eventually after the 7th session of that, I said, we're going to run Tomb of Annihilation, you guys. Let's step in and do something big. And so 50-something sessions, that's basically what I started. I started playing. I was not doing a whole lot of playing when I was writing. And the playing that I was doing was more broadcast entertainment purposes. It was not just sitting around and rolling the dice with some friends. Because you do, at least with me and the folks I was with, you do alter your play style a little bit, I think, when playing for an audience. Because you're not just playing for fun, you're playing to entertain.
Yeah, I agree.
And at least when it's just me and my buddies playing now with this campaign, I'm saying things like, oh yeah, I can stop here and take a couple minutes to flip through this book, which I guess on a podcast you can too, because it later gets edited out. But I'm used to live Twitch streams where you have to, thank you for the follow, and it's, oh yeah, chat, ha ha ha, talk to you over here, and it's going, okay, let me fill up this dead time, ring the bell, like a radio DJ just going bonkers. And one of the new players we got's being weird, so we got to do something with him.
Do you always DM for your group, or do you guys switch off?
I won't be DMing in a little bit, because what I kind of said, eventually I was writing, and then I was doing the artwork for our write-ups. And eventually what I started doing is we would record the sessions, the audio of it, and a buddy of mine, one of the players, he would do the writing. He'd do the writing instead. And I'd go in and tweak it as needed, and I just do the artwork. But I've turned into a bit of a forever DM, although after season 2 of what we've started calling Blunder Quest, I said, okay, I'm going to back off a little bit and do any of y'all want to do some DMing? And I think that a lot of them have kind of popped up saying they'd like to, or even do like a rotating DM. Because if there's one thing that I kind of miss, I'll read about these old ways that people would play D&D, where you'd go to that place where people play D&D, there'd be maybe 4 dungeon masters, and you got put in with a group. Didn't matter what level you were. If you were level 1 and they're level 4, you sat in the back, or they all protected you. And we'll also add to the fun. We got this new guy. Let's
oh yeah,
keep him close.
Yeah.
So I got a side project where I'm doing that with a whole bunch of new people. There's like 12 people or so in this. Eventually, because I created a small little separate Discord, half of them have never played before at all. But I told them, look guys, here's the reason we're doing this. When I say we're going to play it Saturday and half of you all say you can't do it, I got at least 4 who say they can.
Yeah.
But of course there's going to be that one day where everyone's off.
Yeah.
Or what they'll say, can I bring a friend? Yeah. Which I say, sure, but how many people are bringing
level
friends?
1?
Yeah, level 1.
Yep. This encounter is not going to be laid out very, very smoothly. One hit, you're going to die, buddy.
So sit in the back. You got to earn those levels.
That's right.
Now that I have moved over here, though, and I'm paying coast rent, I have reached out to Jeff, and I've said, hey, I'm probably going to reach out and ask for some more scanning projects coming down the line. Originally, I did pick up something for MT Black a few months ago, But I had to dip out of it. I kind of messaged him and said, hey, it's just, I thought I had the time to do this. It was the commute and all. So I might reach back out to him and see if there's still another project available. But as far as things being published, I'm thinking about dipping back into the novels for a bit to see what I can do with that. But honestly, a lot of my creative activities go into the BlunderQuest write-up blogs, painting on my Warhammer minis, because I just keep getting more. It's crazy.
Yeah, how does that happen?
I don't know. Like they just keep coming. They keep showing up. I have stacks of Song of Ice and Fire miniatures, all back behind me as on the shelf. But I don't know.
I mean, and John just posted on Twitter today a boat the size of his table or whatever.
Yeah, what you need
huge.
Is some 3D printers is what you need to do.
Oh, yeah.
You got
I
some
like
of
how
those?
you said it with an S,
Yeah.
printers.
Oh, yeah, we can't have just one.
Yeah, no. You can't print the boat with one printer.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you played other things other than D&D. What other role-playing games?
I've dipped in more of the OSR style of D&D material as well. I can't get people to latch onto it, though, because it's very easy to die. I like that aspect of it. I kind of like the lethality, because it makes people... It's real funny getting an old school D&D player to play with 5e players, because the old school D&D player, as I'm noticing with the 5e thing I'm running now, is very, don't just go in there. You wait.
Right.
We gotta take steps.
Yes.
Yep. We have our home group, and my brother and I are the older school guys. Of course, I like to be random and wild, but my brother's like always scared of everything. You can't just walk in there; you're gonna die.
We have a couple questions from our listener that are specific for this Annalyse play. What happened to Irma? I believe she just got left. She got left behind in the Abyssal Plain,
Irma.
so when the Abyssal side fell apart after Base's defeat, she went floating in the void.
Irma's fighting the good fight, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's what she did. She said, go. I'll take care of them.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Irma's got your back.
Leland, what will Jacques' next class be?
There's very few left on the list to pick, honestly.
Barbarian. Do it. I want to see you
Barbarian would be
rage.
hilarious.
I want to see a French rage.
Yeah, unfortunately, he doesn't have the strength for a barbarian. Otherwise,
No. Take the ability score improvement. Do it. Let's go.
Hey, I see him running a bakery at some point.
He's very particular about his baguette.
you can be a connoisseur of something, but have no ability to create that something.
Yeah.
Right. But you just own the bakery,
Oh,
and then
right.
you just
And
go,
Booch
no,
works
not
in
good
there,
enough. Right. Oh, yeah. You backhand him and, no, back to the kitchen.
Put a croissant on either side of their face and squish it.
He was a class of a chef at one point, but he dropped out, so he didn't get his chef class, and he, yeah.
Well, even better, if he steals one of those mime outfits from Annalise's adventure, he can just go right for this whole French aesthetic. And
French mime. Jacques likes talking too much.
that's true, yeah. You can't have. That's right. Mimes don't have French accents. It's contrary to public belief. They don't have French accents.
They might, which is nobody can
that's
confirm.
what you think.
That's right. They're thinking it.
That's what they
French.
want you to think.
Well, thinking it with a French accent,
Right.
I should say.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Nunda's a good addition. I want to see Nunda reprised again here.
Finally, a voice that didn't annoy you.
His voice didn't annoy me. The smell from his pants, however. Change your frickin' diaper, Nunda.
I'll go back to Pippi.
You know what, Chloe, like Mikkel, all of them. Oh man, I really hope that for the main feed, this was like a glimpse into the fun we have on our patron-only campaigns. It's like very much goofier
Yeah.
when we do our little one-shots together.
Yeah, it was fun to play this and release it for everyone to hear, because I think you don't always see as much of that side of us on the main feed, so it's fun.
I wouldn't have found it if it wasn't available to the public.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's another happy
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 accident.
yeah.
Happy Jackson.
I had to, I'm sorry.
Well, that's one thing as writers that we love to see. I mean, we like to see. It's like if I find out that someone's playing a thing that I've written, I'm sitting there like, okay, especially if it's, yeah, let's hear this. I don't want to watch any of this other stuff. I didn't write that. So
Yeah.
Emily, did you do this for a test group like you did with Jack?
Yeah, same group that did Jack. So before doing it for the podcast, I ran it through with some of our Discord people and patrons. And the same people that did Happy Jack did Annalyse, plus a couple. So I had a big group for Annalyse.
And how did that go?
It went pretty well. Actually, so a couple differences. There was a mannequin on the material side that basically you could dress up and would do the same thing that Irma did on the Abyssal side. So they had a mannequin following them around called Manny. And then they didn't have the flesh golem like you guys had. They didn't even visit the witch and wizard, so they didn't even know about that going on. When they saw Annalyse in the crowd, they tied her down before they used the rose. So then they were able to defeat her. Yeah, exactly. And they fought and killed Alto.
Okay.
Nice.
And I don't remember what happened with Tenor with them.
Whereas, is Elto the one that we locked in the closet?
Alto's the naked red guy that was the one that was actually tying everybody in place.
All right, did they save everyone?
Oh,
or
no.
Okay, all right.
Oh,
okay,
no.
I'm feeling better about myself now.
No.
They only got like 60, 65 maybe.
They had a fight based on the Abyssal side, though, and on the Abyssal side, she cannot be hurt. So you guys got lucky that Annalyse followed you over to the material side before Base made her appearance.
Ooh, I think you
Okay.
might have told us that after we had finished.
Yeah, they were not doing well.
I mean, did they blind the eye?
No,
Come on.
that was clever.
Genius.
Yeah, that was very clever. We'll work on this giant eyeball.
Blind and asleep. Yeah.
Right?
Pam likes to put people to sleep. Like the kids before Jack eats them.
Yeah, and then one of the players that was on Happy Jack also, when she saved Oink Fat and renamed him Kevin Bacon and put him in a baby Bjorn and carried him around. So she had him for Annalise's adventure too.
That pig was like last minute, right before going to print. Said, Jeff! Jeff, I had an idea.
Just do it. Just throw it in there.
What? Yeah. Well, I remember because what happened is he had the artwork made for Reaver. And, like the artwork for Reaver, she's this big, plump, little kind of witch with her cranking her little thing, and it was holding a pig. And I was like,
Oh,
I want to put that pig in the adventure. What can I do with that pig? How about this is a pig that can't be killed? And that's all it is. It just cannot be killed.
Oh, for real? It can't die.
Yeah,
Okay.
he can't die.
He's immortal.
So you can punt him halfway across the room. He'll just, just bounce off and keep doing his thing. And that's always fun to see, too. How people react to the pig and how people react to the hippo. Some people have been bitten by that hippo.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we had a guy who I was listening to someone play it. Someone had a bunch of bird seed. They were using the bird seed to lead the hippo around to where they needed the hippo to go.
Hippos are apparently really dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A bite from a hippo, you're done.
In the initial run through, Tortle got bitten by the hippo, so then he was a Tortle were-hippo.
A hippo.
Yeah.
A hip turtle.
Yeah,
okay,
pretty good.
cool.
The were-hippo came from an Extra Life campaign charity that me and a friend were doing, where I created a druid, and I called him a lycanthropotamus. And for some reason, I don't know where this name came from, but his name was Grandpippy Shippy, and he was the Grandpippy of his tribe. And I drew him.
Because that's what you say in Georgia, grandpippy.
Yeah, the
right?
Grandpippy.
Yeah.
Well, that term I think came from I was playing PUBG with some people, and they have like the double-barreled shotgun, and I called it my Grandpippy Shippy, and that just came out of my mouth one day, but it stuck with me. And I think for that Extra Life campaign, we made it where every $10 someone donated to a player, it was like you could unlock these 20 things. And I called it the Pimp Mypotamus campaign, where you can donate to pimp out Mypotamus.
Yes.
And so Grandpippy Shippy could start off with like a Game Boy Color and a harpoon on his back, or just little dumb things that just added the flavor, made it goofy. And he was just a druid who just would wild shape into a hippopotamus. And I kept it. I said, I like this idea of a lycanthropotamus, of a were-hippo. Jeff! It's like, Remley, this is turning into a thing to put all your weird, wacky ideas, I'm not going to say no, but
I think we need to have Jeff on and
Yeah, now
talk to
we
him
need to
about
talk to
Remley.
Jeff. Yeah.
separate from
What's it
me.
like working with Remley? He wants to throw a pig, Andy. Just let him have the pig.
Because I know with because one thing with Happy Jacks as well, I'm trying to think of all the random ideas I had that I crammed in there, is there's like those little side tunnels, which I'm sure Emily's aware of, the ones that you can't fit through,
Yeah.
but you can. If the Ant Viper bites you and you fail a save, you transform into a swarm of poisonous snakes.
Yeah, you guys aren't aware of that.
You are then a collective of poisonous snakes, and that
Yeah.
is the way. Because I said, okay, here are some little.
Forever?
No, until the Ant Viper gets killed. But it's one of those things where I want something weird to happen if you get bit and fail. I don't want you to get paralyzed. I don't want you to. You're a pile of snakes, Jeff. But then okay, well if you turn into this pile of snakes, you can do neat things because hidden back somewhere in Happy Jacks is, I think I called it like the Serpent Collective. It's a bunch of other people who've been bitten by this Ant Viper, and they just formed like those snake balls that happen.
Oh.
What? There's like
And it's like,
Methuselahs.
welcome, we are the ones. I want to say though, based on the room that I put them in, if you kill the Ant Viper and the Ant Viper dies and they'll turn back into people, the room's not big enough for the people.
No, it was
Hindsight.
not.
Yeah,
Oh,
what
yeah.
happens?
I think that happened in your session, right?
Yeah.
Physics.
Yeah.
Physics. Well, you can fit through that pipe if you get
Get squished hard enough. Well, this has been great. We thank you very much for joining us for this and for writing the adventures in the first place. We enjoyed planning them. Very well written. I liked it very much. When I first started, I saw Jack and I saw that face. And I was like, oh, I got to do this. And then I started reading Annalyse and I was like, oh, this is so much worse. This is so much worse.
But like
than Jack.
Happy Jacks for you, Emily, was like a campaign that I felt like you really felt more confident in the way it was written. It must have been just like what you were supplied with, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I felt it. How can we promote you? Where can people find you? Obviously, DM Skills.
You can find me on a website, just like in the old days, before social media.
your own website.
Yeah, you got your own website, do you?
Yeah, with a web ring, though.
Got on the interwebs. Remley Farr.
.com is exactly it.
RemleyFarr.com.
Yeah, it's my
All
name.
right, there we go.
No one's going to take my name. I got a weird name. But that's it. It's RemleyFarr.com. You'll find a list of the things that I've written, some of the other people I've collaborated with, which I need to update that. I haven't updated that in a bit. But a lot of it, too, you'll find the weird, strange campaign that me and my buddies are playing. And a lot of the stuff that they say is word for word what the characters are saying.
That's awesome.
It's complete with cartoon drawings. Right now, they're doing Descent into Avernus, and they said, we want to all be Minotaurs. So they're doing a Minotaur campaign.
Okay.
And when they're all playing Minotaurs, anytime something weird happens, they just say, well, that's Minotaur culture. In Minotaur culture, we wouldn't allow this. And it just sets this. I think one of them was not a Minotaur, he's a tiefling, but he's a horned ally, as they call him. And he's the one they have go, they just send him in to go talk to the people. A funny thing about it, too, if you ever get to reading it, is at one point I unconsciously realized that anytime they said we want to go talk to somebody, they're in a new place, area of Baldur's Gate, we want to go speak with somebody. For some reason, I always made it where they approached a kid. So we just said that's part of their culture too, where like we need to find someone who knows what's going on. You little human, tell us what's going on with your people. And they just rolled with it. It's crazy the dumb stuff that they would do, but.
Yeah, we'll put a link to it on our website if we remember to update our website.
There you go.
Well, thanks for joining us. I've been Dunda and John.
You smelt it, you dealt it. Bam!
Am I next?
Yep.
I'm next. Okay.
Wait. Let me start over
Wait,
again.
wait. You're not next. You're Booch. Come on.
We're professionals, can you tell?
Yeah.
I've been Bill and Booch.
I'm Leland Steele and Jacques Metier.
And I'm Emily. I was the DM, and we had our special guest, Remley Farr. Thank you very much for joining us.
I've been John and Shaft, not in the after party.
Ananda, come on.
And no, we don't do that in the after party, is what I was saying.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
Bill, sign us
I'm
off.
not
Bill.
next.
No,
Emily's
sign us
next.
off. No, we don't do this in the after party.
Huh?
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, we do.
Yes, we do. This is the only place we do.
It's the only
them.
time we ever do it. What are you talking
Wait,
about?
so it goes John, Emily,
Yeah, but
me.
I'm
So
not
it's
going
me, not...
second.
Okay, I'm Elena. I played Pam.
Wait, no, I messed up because I said
hold on.
chef.
No
so
shit.
I gotta start again.
Okay.
You ruined
Hi,
it.
I'm Remley Farr. No.